Okay, let's unpack this.
Hmm?
Today, our mission, it's exploring one of the really demanding challenges in modern food, actually.
Right. How do you maintain authenticity, that traditional flavor, while being totally safe for specific diets?
Exactly. We're zeroing in on a place called Chinese Cuisine Noodle Asia in Corinda. They've made this, well, pretty audacious claim,
Would you?
delivering authentic, complex Chinese flavors, but being 100% gluten-free.
Wow. Okay, that is a big claim.
Yeah.
Because their vision, according to our sources, is to be a true coeliacs-safe food
Oh,
haven.
haven.
But you
Yeah.
got to remember, wheat flour, it's not just like one ingredient you swap out in Chinese cooking.
No, it's fundamental, isn't it?
Totally, it's structural. Sauce is needed for thickness, viscosity, noodles, wrappers, obviously. Even getting things brown and crispy often relies on it.
So removing it completely?
They
They
don't.
can't just switch one flour for another?
No way. It means they have to fundamentally re-engineer the cooking process. It's a massive undertaking.
That's the real deep dive for us, then. How do they balance that? The notes say they combine traditional recipes with thoughtfully reimagined creations.
Reimagine, that's the key word.
My first thought honestly goes straight to the basics. The textures. Dishes with batters, thick glazes. How do they manage that?
Yeah, that's the immediate hurdle.
If they don't nail the texture, especially the crispiness, does it even feel authentic? That's the clue then.
Precisely. Reproducing that classic crispy, sticky texture without wheat flour is, well, it's incredibly difficult.
Okay, let's start with a real benchmark. GF sweet and sour pork.
The ultimate test, maybe.
Could be. The description sounds perfect. Crispy pork tossed in a tangy sweet and sour sauce with pineapple and bell pepper sounds just like you'd expect.
But that word crispy, that's where the science comes in.
How so?
Well, a gluten-free batter, getting it truly crispy and light, not heavy or oily, it's tough. Gluten provides structure and elasticity.
So without it?
They'd need a really specific blend of alternative starches, probably things like rice flour, potato starch, tapioca starch, maybe using binders like xanthan gum or even egg whites.
You'll hold it together.
Yeah, and to get that airy puff when it fries, you need the right mix, the right batter consistency, perfect temperature control. Otherwise, it's dense or it just falls apart.
Okay, so that's the batter itself. What about the sauce?
Good point. The allergen list for that dish specifically says contain soy.
Right.
That tells you something important. Every single part of that dish, down to the soy sauce in the marinade or the sauce itself, has to be certified gluten-free.
Which isn't standard soy sauce.
Not at all. Sourcing reliable GF soy sauce consistently in restaurant quantities. That's a serious logistical challenge. Shows real commitment.
Okay, so that's one classic down to what. Let's move to something maybe even more subtle, more about the marinade and roasting. The GF signature honey charsi.
The BBQ pork. Another cornerstone.
Definitely. It needs that deep flavor, that sort of sticky, dark, caramelized edge. The notes describe it as tender slices of premium pork, marinated in a house blend of spices, roasted at high heat for a caramelized edge and juicy center. And they call it a modern take on a Cantonese classic.
Right, modern take.
Yeah.
Because traditional charsi often relies on maltose for that gloss and stickiness.
And maltose can contain.
Often derived from barley, which contains gluten. Plus, specific fermented ingredients might also use wheat, getting that characteristic deep red color and that perfect sticky glaze without those traditional elements.
Needs more re-engineering.
Absolutely. They have to find alternatives. Maybe specific sugar blends, honey, syrups that can caramelize properly at high heat without burning, giving that same visual appeal and texture. They're basically having to recreate the Maillard reaction using different building blocks.
What's really interesting here, though, is they solve the gluten problem, but they're still super careful about other allergens. For that charsi, it lists contain egg, mollusks, sesame from garnish.
Okay.
Egg, maybe in a binder or wash. Sesame garnish, fine, but mollusks. In BBQ pork, why list that?
That's actually a sign of how thorough they're being. It points towards their house blend marinade.
How so?
Well, traditional Cantonese cooking, including marinades for things like charsi, often uses a little bit of oyster sauce, just a touch, for that deep umami background flavor.
Oh, okay. Oyster sauce contains mollusks.
Exactly. So they've likely found or created a gluten-free oyster sauce substitute, but they're still declaring the presence of mollusks as an allergen category from that flavor profile.
So they're cracking ingredients down to the seasoning level, not just the main flour replacement.
Precisely. It shows incredible attention to detail in their ingredient sourcing and labeling. It's not just about gluten.
Right. Okay. This is where, for me, it gets really interesting. Let's move from mains to the comfort food test. Small plates, deep fried starters.
Yeah, dim sum style things, spring rolls, often the hardest items.
These are usually totally off limits for anyone needing strictly gluten-free, right? Because of wrappers, shared fryers, cross-contamination is almost guaranteed in a standard kitchen.
This is definitely the high-risk zone. If they can nail these, it really speaks volumes about their whole kitchen setup and protocols.
Let's dig into one. The GF Homestyle Pork Spring Rolls. The description says they're inspired by a Cantonese classic, the steamed minced pork patty.
Okay, interesting inspiration.
Ingredients: premium Australian pork, shiitake mushrooms, sweet corn, all in a crispy shell.
Sounds delicious. And that crispy shell is the challenge again.
But listen to this description. A nostalgic bite that brings the warmth of Chinese family cooking to your plate.
So they're aiming for that emotional connection too. It's not just about being GF, it's about delivering that authentic, comforting experience.
Yeah, but technically that crispy wrapper, GF wrappers, often rice paper based, can be tricky, can't they?
Very tricky. They can be brittle when dry, or they can absorb way too much oil during frying and become greasy, or they just don't get that satisfying crunch.
So getting a good result consistently.
It requires serious recipe development, probably another custom blend for the wrapper itself, maybe techniques to control oil absorption. It's a significant technical achievement if they've cracked it.
And again, the transparency. The allergens listed for these spring rolls contain sesame, soy, sulfites.
Sulfites. That's interesting.
Why? Seems specific.
It is. Sulfites aren't one of the top-tier allergens for everyone, but they can be a serious issue for some. They're often used as preservatives, maybe in dried ingredients like the shiitake mushrooms, or sometimes even in processing aids for starches.
So listing it shows they're tracking
Well, everything.
everything that could potentially cause a reaction. It goes beyond just the most common allergens. Very comprehensive.
And this commitment to safe deep frying seems to run through the menu. They also list things like deep-fried prawn toast.
Classic. Contains crustacea and sesame. Makes sense.
And deep-fried chicken wings, listing soy and crustacea.
Crustacea in the chicken wings. Maybe from shrimp paste in the marinade. Again, detailed. For someone who needs strictly GF, having access to things like spring rolls and prawn toast, that's often just impossible in a regular Chinese restaurant.
Absolutely revolutionary for them. It means their 100% GF environment isn't just a label. It's backed up by procedures that prevent cross-contamination, even in shared equipment like fryers. That takes rigorous process control.
And importantly, they haven't seemed to sacrifice the flavor people expect. The notes mention the seaweed salt fries are addictively tasty.
Which suggests they're successfully using other ingredients like seaweed for umami to build back any flavor complexity that might be lost when removing traditional gluten-containing elements like certain sauces or coatings. They're finding flavor solutions.
Okay, so the 100% GF claims seem solid, backed by serious effort. Let's pivot slightly. If they're so focused on gluten, does that mean they might, miss other things? Let's look at the detail on the other allergen listings.
That's a fair question. Sometimes hyperfocus on one issue can lead to blind spots elsewhere,
Right.
but the evidence here seems to point the other way.
All right.
Their commitment to transparency seems to cover everything. Look at how they handle nuts.
Okay.
The Kung Pao chicken lists contains tree nuts cashew, very specific.
Right, cashews are standard in Kung Pao.
But then look at the Sandy lamb backstrap. It lists contains peanut, tree nuts, candle nut.
Candle nut, they're specifying the type of tree nut.
Exactly. Candle nut is used in Southeast Asian cooking, often in pastes like satay, but it's a distinct allergen from, say, cashews or almonds. That level of botanical specificity is rare and incredibly helpful for people with specific nut allergies. They're not just saying tree nuts.
That is impressive detail. And it goes even further into really complex derived ingredients.
Seems so. What did you spot?
The Wagyu minced fried rice with their house-made XO sauce.
XO sauce. Always complex.
The label lists crustacea and mollusks, which you'd expect, right? XO sauce is based on seafood.
Yeah, dried scallops, dried shrimp usually.
But they don't just list the categories, they detail what's in the XO. Premium dried scallops, shrimp, and Spanish jamon serrano.
Wow. Okay, listing the jamon too. That's going above and beyond typical allergen labeling.
Why do that?
Because XO sauce is a concentrated flavor bomb. By detailing the key luxury ingredients, the specific seafood, even the high-quality ham, they're demonstrating they know the exact composition of their own house-made complex ingredients. They're showing their work, essentially.
Proving they track flavors right from the source.
Exactly. And we see that tracking for mollusks elsewhere, too, like in the oyster sauce stir-fried seasoned vegetable. Even when it's just a background flavor enhancer, they list it. No hidden allergens.
And they even acknowledge risks outside their direct control, don't they?
You mean they may contain traces of warnings?
Yeah. On dishes like the BBQ pork with plum sauce, it says may contain traces of peanuts, and Mongolian beef has a similar warning for milk, peanut, sesame, and unspecified tree nuts.
Right. And this is on dishes that are themselves 100% gluten-free.
So what does that signify?
It shows they understand the realities of the wider food supply chain. Even if their kitchen is pristine and 100% GF, some ingredients might be processed in facilities that handle other allergens. Listing may contain is the highest standard of due diligence and transparency for those unavoidable low-level risks.
So, wrapping this part up, what does it all mean? It seems like they've tackled the huge job of being 100% GF.
Which is massive in itself for Chinese cuisine.
But they've also built this incredibly rigorous system for tracking and declaring all major allergens: egg, nuts, soy, dairy, seafood. It's all there.
They're not just a GF restaurant. They seem to be aiming for a much higher benchmark of overall allergen safety and awareness within a cuisine that's traditionally very challenging for allergy sufferers.
Yeah, it feels like a new standard.
Absolutely. The big takeaway is that they seem to be successfully balancing that authentic culture and flavor. You know, getting the numbing heat in Sichuan beef, right, or that wokey fragrance in Singapore noodles.
While providing comprehensive safety, it creates this really inclusive experience. People with coeliac disease can suddenly access a whole range of Chinese dishes they probably thought they'd never eat safely again.
A full menu experience, not just one or two safe options.
And the scope is just...
Right.
It's pretty amazing when you look at the whole menu described in the sources. It's not just savory mains. They've adapted drinks, desserts.
Right. You mentioned the bubble tea.
Yeah, the classic bubble milk tea. It's GF, but they clearly list contains milk and sulfites from the pearl topping, so even the trendy texture drinks are covered.
Shows they've considered every component. Even the tapioca pearls might have sulfites used in processing.
And desserts, too. There's a hot chocolate glazed pudding, also GF.
But contains.
Milk, egg, soy, all clearly listed, so it's the entire dining experience, start to finish, that's been considered through this GF and allergen-aware lens.
They didn't just tweak a few recipes.
Yeah.
It sounds like they fundamentally rebuilt their menu philosophy and kitchen processes from the ground up around safety and authenticity.
Which really makes you wonder, given they've tackled things like crispy batters, complex glazes, delicate wrappers, things previously thought almost impossible for authentic GF Chinese food.
Yeah.
What other non-GF Chinese dish, maybe one that people think is absolutely impossible to convert, what could be next on their list of reimagined creations?
That's the really exciting thought, isn't it? It kind of opens up possibilities. If they can do this level of authentic recreation safely, it sets a precedent.
A template for other complex traditional cuisines, maybe?
Could be. Showing how you can evolve, embrace safety and inclusivity without necessarily sacrificing the cultural heart or the flavors that people love. It's genuine innovation.
Definitely something to think about. Food for thought, you could say.
Indeed.
Okay, something for you to mull over until our next deep dive.